Hello, universe. Welcome to the most spectacular wrestling podcast you will find on the internet. You are listening to Tag Me In, bro. I'm Joe Tantillo, and as always, I'm seated next to my terrific co-host, Taryn O'Connor. Say hi to the people, Taryn.
Hi to the people, Taryn.
If you're new to the show, the format is simple. Each week, we discuss all the magnificent moments, turbulent times, and stunning surprises that professional wrestling has to offer.
So turn your radio up and your opinions down, because we've got some hot tags coming up NXT, which means next.
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Hello, universe. It's Joe Tantillo here, and it is Tag Me In Bro time. Oh my goodness, what happened over the weekend? You know what happened. Dominion happened, and everyone was freaking out about it because Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada was the greatest wrestling match of all time. Don't at me. And the pay-per-view as a whole was amazing. Kenny is now the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. For those of you that haven't watched, I'm sorry for the spoiler, but it is too late. It's too late. Go watch the match anyway, because it's freaking amazing. It doesn't matter if you know the ending. The match is just unbelievable. We're talking about it in the indie corner. Before that, we're talking about the Raw Rundown, and we're also going to talk about why the Universal Championship sucks now, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But folks, you don't want to miss out on 1 second of Tag Me In Bro content, so go on Twitter right now and follow us at Tag Me In Bro. Once again, that's at Tag Me In Bro. And join our 6,000 followers in wrestling discussions, debates, conversations, chit-chats, arguments, whatever you want. Also, please go onto iTunes and give us a 5-star Frog Splash review. We would really, really appreciate it, and we'll give you a shout-out on the show if you do so. Now, I hope everyone is excited for the show because it is about to go down in a big way. Today, tomorrow, and every day, we are talking wrestling. First things first, we'll cover the Raw Rundown, where we'll give you our analysis of last night's show. After that, we've got our Hi to the People segment, where we engage the audience on different polls every single week. This week, it is back to our prediction series, so we want to know who you think is going to win each match at NXT and also for Money in the Bank. After that, we're going to go to the Indie Corner, and like I said previously, we're going to be talking about Kenny versus Kazuchika. And finally, we will go on to our main event, where we talk about the question on everyone's mind this week, and then we close out the show with our Stars of the Night. And the question on everyone's mind this week is, why have we declared the Universal title officially dead? We'll be talking much more about that in the main event, but first let's get to that Raw Rundown.
Woo!
Here are the only 5 things you need to know about Monday Night Raw this week. Number 5, Roman versus Sunil Singh. Number 4, Rollins stomps a guitar. Number 3, Nia and Ronda meet face to face. Number 2, the Women's Fatal 4-Way, and number 1, the Men's Fatal 4-Way. It was not the most eventful Raw as far as the Money in the Bank go-home show is concerned, but a few things did happen, and I'm here with my real-life bro from the same mo, John Tantillo at BFLO Codebreaker, who's going to break it down with me. So let's start off with that Roman Reigns versus Sunil Singh match. Now, we were told it was going to be Roman versus Jinder, which is the match that's happening at Money in the Bank this Sunday, but instead we got Roman versus the king of Punjabi
Nothing.
style? I don't know. Sunil. John, what'd you think?
Let me tell you, it's probably better than Jinder Roman's going to be, and that's all I got to say.
Yeah, probably. Roman and Jinder are going to have a match for who is the least favorite wrestler in the world of WWE. I still like Jinder less than I like Roman, but I think I'm in a small minority on that one. Moving swiftly forward, Rollins stomped Elias's guitar. This is pretty much self-explanatory. Elias went out and cut a pretty sweet promo, and then Rollins came out and crushed his guitar. And that was basically it. And they're fighting on Sunday in the match that I have decided will be the show stealer of Money in the Bank. It will be better than most ladder matches. Elias versus Seth Rollins. It is decided. John?
Well, I mean, Rollins did destroy a guitar from who Jonathan Coachman refers to as the single greatest hip-hop artist of all time, John Mayer. So, good segment.
Yeah, it was weird. Then Nia and Ronda met face to face. Ronda ended up standing tall in this one. She made Nia tap out to the armbar, which to me signals that Ronda is not going to win on Sunday. Typically, as you all know, if you watch a lot of WWE, the person who stands tall in the go home show is not the victor. However, there is a lot of speculation that Natalya will win Money in the Bank and cash in on Ronda, who people think is going to win. But I'm going to go out there and say I have a sneaking suspicion that Little Miss Rousey will not be taking home the gold, but I will give my official prediction later this week. Up next was the Women's Fatal 4-Way and what was a very good match between Natalya, Sasha, Ember, and Alexa. Those are the female Raw competitors for the Money in the Bank women's ladder match, and Natalya came out with the victory. So once again, I do not think she will be winning on Sunday, but you never know, crazier things have happened. Perhaps this is a super swerve here because they know that usually if you stand tall, you don't win, but so this time they're going to do it back to back to back. I don't know. John, do you have any other thoughts on any of what I just talked about?
You know, this was another really strong match from the women's division. We got to see a lot of really fun, really cool spots. Ember Moon just about murdered Sasha Banks with a suicide dive, so that gif was all over Twitter for all of last night. We also got to see an Eclipse. Natty ended up picking up the win with a sharpshooter. So yeah, really, really high quality match to open Raw, which is something we don't get too often anymore.
I like when they open Raw like straight off with a really solid match. I mean, I know that sounds like a dumb comment, but so often they don't put these major matches up front. Usually the blow-off matches come early, building to the main event, so it's nice to see something high caliber in the beginning. Moving swiftly forward to our number one most important thing was the men's Fatal 4-Way match, the main event of Raw last night, with Braun, KO, Finn, and Bobby Roode. Again, that is the men's Raw Money in the Bank ladder match competitors. Braun Strowman picked up the win, which John, you predicted before the show even started. That makes sense. He is probably not going to be taking home Money in the Bank. Again, I've said that for everybody who won on this Go Home show, but I never really thought of him as the person who's going to win because he does not need Money in the Bank to win the championship. He will probably win it on his own time, at his own pace, and sooner rather than later, please, Vince McMahon. Anyway, John, any thoughts on that before we wrap up the Raw Rundown?
I think this match in quality just barely beat out the women's one, but there was a lot of really, really fun psychology going into this one. Throughout the show, Kevin Owens was trying to get everybody to team up on Braun, and he eventually succeeded coordinating this three-pronged attack on him during the match. They actually got off a frog splash from the top of a ladder through the announce table on Strowman, taking him out for a while. There was a great segment where Finn hits him with the coup de grace, gets a 2 count, gets pulled off. Then Roode hits him with the glorious DDT, gets a 2 count, gets pulled off. And then KO tries to go in for the kill, but gets running power slammed onto a ladder and gets pinned 1, 2, 3. So really strong main event this week, and makes me honestly really excited for the men's Money in the Bank match.
I'm excited for Money in the Bank, and I know that a lot of people, including myself, in the immediate aftermath of Dominion, pretty much said, like, there's not a chance that WWE can touch this pay-per-view. And I have to say that, while I don't think it will be of the same caliber because you had a 2-year build-up to that, IWGP Championship match, there's a lot of good stuff, the potential for a lot of good stuff happening right now. And that brings me to our very, very important number 0 most important thing that happened last night. We have a super extra special added number, and that number is 0 because the most important thing that has happened on Raw since we began recording this podcast happened last night, and that is that Baron Corbin is bald. Bald! 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 Bald!
Thinning.
He has shaved his head finally, and he looks great. He actually looks way more like championship material, and maybe he'll get a serious push now that he got rid of his not-so-serious hair. Anyway, that was your Raw Rundown, ladies and gentlemen. We thought that Raw was actually not too bad this week, all things considered. So let us know your thoughts on social media, and speaking of social media, it's time to say hi to the people. This week on Hunt of the People, we are back to the prediction series, so we're asking you fans to please vote for who you think will win each and every match at NXT TakeOver Chicago and Money in the Bank this weekend. You can vote online on Twitter by tweeting at us and using the hashtag #HotTag, or email us at tagmeinbro@gmail.com to share your opinion and maybe have your thoughts read out on the show, and every week we read out some of our favorite responses. Now let's talk about the results of last week's topic. We asked you, which pay-per-view do you think will be better? New Japan Pro Wrestling's Dominion or NXT TakeOver Chicago? And narrowly, Dominion won with 51% of the vote. We didn't actually have any people voice their opinion this week, simply voted in the poll. So you guys thought Dominion would be better, and it was pretty freaking great, but takeovers have been amazing in the past, so we will just have to see what people's thoughts are next week. Be sure to vote this week. The fans currently hold the Tag Me In Bro World Heavyweight Championship because you have been successful for 3 pay-per-views in a row on your predictions, and we just haven't been able to beat you, but I swear to God, I am coming for that title this week. We're getting it. We're getting it back, for the first time. I want it. I want it. I invented it, and I want it. And you people keep winning it. It's my turn. Anyway, rant over. Be sure to vote and try to keep that title out of my hands.
Bullet Club is fine.
Let's take a spin to the indie corner. We are talking about Kazuchika Okada versus Kenny Omega for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at New Japan Pro Wrestling's Dominion in Osaka-jo Hall on 6/9. And it was legend, wait for it, fucking awesome. It was so goddamn good. I could not believe it. I almost exploded from pure joy at the end of it. And obviously everybody was really happy with it on Twitter. People were rejoicing. Kenny is finally the champion. It was 2 out of 3 falls. The match went an hour and 4 minutes and 53 seconds officially, I believe. Saw new stuff from them that we'd never seen before. Saw old stuff performed in a new way. The storytelling, the psychology, all of it, the technical wrestling ability. It was just terrific. And once again, Okada did not go through a table, though I really thought he was going to. And at the end, Kenny made up with the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, and he formed a new faction that is a subset of the Bullet Club, or it's not even a subset of the Bullet Club, but something completely new called the Golden Elite. And their shirt was the fastest sellout on Pro Wrestling Tees ever because it was such an amazing moment. So a lot of really exciting stuff with Kenny at the helm of New Japan Pro Wrestling. He really sent a message to say that he wants to bring this company to the front and center stage, and he believes that with him as champion they can do it. I think if they start boosting some of their English content, they have a good chance to start competing more on US territory. WWE is the big dog, and they're going to be for a very long time. They have lots and lots of money, but the content that New Japan Pro Wrestling puts out time and time again is just so consistently exceptional that it's hard to believe that if they don't keep pushing and pushing into this market that they won't find success. But we will just have to see. That's been the Indie Corner this week. Stay tuned for next week, where we will be talking about, who knows, something in the world of non-WWE wrestling.
It's Rusev Day. It's Rusev Day.
And now it's time for the main event. In today's main event, we're talking about why have we declared the Universal Championship officially dead. I'd like to welcome back to the room my real-life bro from the same mo, John Tantillo, at BFLO Codebreaker on Twitter. John, say hi to the people.
It's me. It's JJT.
I love it. All right, John. So, RIP the Universal Championship. It is officially dead. We are declaring it now. And there are many, many reasons we are doing this. I have never been a fan of it from the very beginning. You have never been a fan of it from the very beginning. We gave it a fair chance, but it is dead. And this has nothing to do with specifically Brock Lesnar breaking CM Punk's reign. So for anyone who is going to be like, you're just salty over that, I am salty over that, but not really that salty. And this is completely unrelated to that, though it does have a lot to do with Brock Lesnar's absentee time as champion. So let's start from the very beginning. A long time ago, in a place not so far away called Connecticut, Vince McMahon had the brilliant idea to split the brands into Raw and SmackDown Live, returning to the brand split era, which was a brilliant idea. And everybody thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if the WWE champion traveled back and forth between the two shows just to challenge the best competitors? But Vince McMahon said, no, we will have a red fruit roll-up championship, and it will be defended throughout the universe, which is Earth. And so the Universal Championship was born, and it was given to Roman, but then they didn't do that, even though they probably really wanted to. So it was given to Seth, except they didn't do that either, even though, once again, they probably really wanted to. But there was so much going on because of Roman's drugs and Seth being a heel that both of those plans were completely derailed. So what happened? A fan favorite, a young boy from the Kingdom of Ireland, won the championship, and the fans said, yay, we like this guy, and then he broke his shoulder. And then he disappeared forever. Or what felt like forever, at least. So that brings us to the end of the first reign of the first champion, Finn Balor, which was so wonderful for 10 minutes. And since then, the Universal Championship has been on a rapid decline into garbage land. And the second champion was handed the belt in a fatal four-way that featured, Roman Reigns, the not real fake first champion, Seth Rollins, the also not real fake first, not real second fake first champion, and Big Cass, of course, because that makes sense. But also a young Canadian man named Kevin Owens. And he said, I'm a prize fighter, and I'm going to fight for this prize. And what happened? He did, but he was going to lose. So Triple H came out and said, well, here we go. And then he was the champion. And then he fought Seth Rollins many times, and every time looked weaker and weaker, and was basically a big joke, and turned one of the toughest, scariest prize fighters in the company into a clown. And that was the second champion. And then, the second champion, this clown, Kevin Owens, says, you know what, Chris Jericho? I hate you. And gives us the Festival of Friendship, one of the greatest Raw segments of all time. And of course, this would lead to them fighting for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. But it didn't. Instead, an old bald guy who kind of looked like Stone Cold Steve Austin said, hey, I'm out of money, and I need to come back. And Vince McMahon said, why don't you take my fruit roll-up? Because that'll make it important. And so he did. In 5 seconds, he beat the clown. And then he was like, hey, I got the fruit roll-up. There's only one man that I want to challenge for it. Brock Lesnar. And he did. And Brock Lesnar won in 4 minutes. And that's it. We are today still in the same position that we were in 18 months ago. That's the whole Universal Championship history. Sounds a lot more ridiculous when you put it that way, doesn't it? John? Wow.
You sure summed it up. Everybody tweet 3 clap emojis at Joe. That was spectacular. But yeah, I mean, you pretty much covered it. That's about it. I mean, there's nothing really. They had so many opportunities to make this belt so strong, and they just didn't. It makes me think, like, were Jericho and Owens supposed to fight for the Universal Championship at 33, but someone had a typo and put United States instead? I mean,
reportedly they were, and Vince changed the plan to be Goldberg later, because Vince. Like, I don't know, I mean, jokes aside, the idea to put it on Finn in the beginning was really smart, and his injury was super unfortunate, because I think that he, there were rumors that the original plan was for him to actually carry it all the way till WrestleMania and feud with KO and lose to KO at Mania, which I think would have been awesome. Unfortunately, that is not the timeline that we got. Now, I think their biggest mistake was not in choosing KO, because I actually think that was a really smart decision, but it was in how they handled his character progression from that point. He was never really able to win without the help of Chris Jericho or some sort of tricks, and that was a shame, because he had, decent matches with Seth and decent matches with Roman even. And by the time he started to seem legitimate, which was after the Festival of Friendship, they took it off him right away to Goldberg, which sucked in a one of my most hated matches of all time in WWE.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. I remember watching Fastlane that year, and they had those weird 2 non-matches in the middle of the card, and everybody at once kind of was like, "Oh, Goldberg's gonna win in like 30 seconds." And I remember just sitting there and being like, why? Why have they done this to this title? And another thing with Owens' reign was when, I don't remember what pay-per-view it was, but it was when he was fighting Roman with Jericho in the shark cage, and he hit Roman with a full punch to the mouth with brass knuckles, and Roman kicked out, and I was like, Jesus, this is your top champion? Are you serious? Like, even when they wanted to make it look good, they didn't.
Yeah, and they did nothing but position it at the top of the card. It always went on after the WWE Championship. They did not pull any punches in terms of letting us know that they wanted this to be viewed as the top belt. It was the red belt on the A show, and they put it on the guys that they felt were the best at the time. And there not that many people challenged for it. Like, it's really only been like the biggest, best, like Vinciest guys. Which is fine. There's been some, a couple of good Universal title matches. That's not necessarily the problem with it, but they have utterly failed, in my mind, to gain any respect or traction on this belt. And the most damning thing is how long this Brock reign has been. People didn't want that right away.
Yeah, let's talk about the Brock problem now, because that's really the bulk of this. I guess we call it autopsy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Brock's... Yeah, it is an autopsy because it's fucking dead. Brock's reign, if I am not mistaken, is longer than all the other 3 champions combined.
Sure feels like it, at least.
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
Well, it's longer than Kevin Owens, so basically...
Well, together, right? Finn won it at SummerSlam, and... like Lesnar had it at Mania the following year, and he's had it since then. So definitely, which is silly. Like, when you have a championship belt, the smartest thing to do is probably not to have an extended reign on a champion who is not exactly a fan favorite, who beats fan favorites like Braun, like Joe, and like Roman, who is a fan favorite, regardless of those of you who hate him. He's beloved by about half the audience, and he's beaten them time and time again in pretty embarrassing fashions from their point of view. And so now you have a belt on a guy who it feels like nobody can ever legitimately beat, and nobody really cares about the belt because it's never on the show, and it doesn't feel like anybody actually wants it. It's almost like they should have just made the belt. It should be like the Broken Skull Championship or something. Like, it's just Brock's thing that he has because he's so good, or like the Greatest Royal Rumble trophy that Braun just has because he's so good. Like, it has no meaning other than like they're like, here's something shiny with a lot of diamonds in it, and we're gonna tell you it's important, but it's really not.
I mean, at least people like Braun. He was given the Greatest Royal Rumble win for a reason, but Brock is just... he's not around. He's not a superstar. He's just a guy. He's a UFC fighter that is sticking around for way too long.
I think the problem with Brock is that a lot of people do really like him still. The internet wrestling community is not the be all end all of wrestling opinions, as everyone who's in it, or a lot of people who are in it, realize. And I think a lot of casual people like Brock, and they do see him as this like tough, badass ass kicker, because there's a lot of people who still view wrestling as a sport instead of viewing it as a TV show or a theatrical production. So they're like, oh, well, Brock's the toughest, best fighter in real life, so he should be the champion always, because nobody could actually beat him. Which, I mean, I guess there's a degree of logic in that, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't make for the best television show. Like, it's a television show about a wrestling company. Why is your champion not on the show? He's the main character. If Jon Snow just disappeared from Game of Thrones and only came back for, like, season finales, people would be pissed. Like, that's basically the same thing.
Yeah, that was actually a really good point. Game of Thrones always gets the point across, but I mean, in my opinion, the top guy should be the champion, and by top guy I mean the guy who is putting on consistently the best performance in your company.
Yeah, all around promos, in-ring, and also the out-of-ring stuff, all the charity outreach stuff that they do. That's got to be taken into consideration when you're the decision makers.
And I mean, Lesnar is such a good wrestler.
When he wants to be.
When he wants to be, and he doesn't want to be very often. And that's really the problem. I've seen a lot of people on the internet drawing parallels between Kazuchika Okada's reign, which just ended, and Lesnar's reign, which is still going on, and saying, well, I mean, they've got pretty close to the same amount of defenses in their respective amount of time. So their ratios for defenses to time held is pretty similar. But when you take a look at all of Okada's defenses, for one, the amount of time he's spent in the ring in defenses alone, maybe even in just his last defense against Omega, is more time than Lesnar has spent in a ring in matches and promos combined.
It's a really good point that nobody's talking about.
Like, it's a big deal, not to mention that everyone who goes up against Okada looks strong. Like, Zack Sabre Jr. is not going to be Kazuchika Okada, but they fought, and Zack Sabre Jr. looked real fucking strong after that match.
That's one of the things that I love about the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, is the more people from varied backgrounds get opportunities, and they always come out looking good. When it's the Universal title and Brock Lesnar and WWE Championship matches in general, you often have the competitor coming out looking terrible instead of both people looking strong moving forward.
Look at how weak that Braun Strowman looked after he fought Brock.
Oh my god, pinned with one F5?
Yeah.
It was embarrassing.
And Roman gets to kick out of 5?
Yeah. Like, it doesn't, there's a lack of consistency, and I think that's a lot of people's problem with the product right now, especially with respect to the Universal Championship. And back to drawing the parallels between Okada and Brock. Okada has wrestled so many non-title matches, and like, but everybody's always like, oh, Brock never defends his championship. Yeah, I have a problem with that, but also Brock never wrestles on Raw. Brock never shows up. When's the last time Brock just wrestled a match just because, like, on television? You know, every once in a while he'll wrestle us at a house show, but still not that frequently. And if we're continuing this comparison, the way that the IWGP Heavyweight Championship is positioned and has been positioned compared to the Universal title or the WWE title, it's far more prestigious and is defended far less frequently.
And the champion gets to be the ace. Brock Lesnar is not the ace of WWE. That is Seth Rollins.
Yeah. Even though Roman really wants to be the ace. But yeah, Seth is the ace. He should be the face of the company. Anyway, we've wrapped a lot into this discussion. What I'm interested to know now is what you, the fans, have to say. Is the Universal title dead? Does it have any single solitary scrap of respect left in it? Do you care about it at all? Should they just move on? Or, you know, do you love it? Do you think it's actually going great? Do you find Brock's reign really compelling? And if so, tell us why, because we're really interested always in hearing differing opinions, because you guys know that we'll never tell anyone that they're just downright wrong. We might disagree with you, but, you know, wrestling is for everyone and for all opinions, and we love it. Anyway, that's been the main event. Let us know your thoughts on social media, and let's now move on to the way we close out the show every night with our Stars of the Night. Here are our Stars of the Night for Monday Night Raw, June 11th, 2018 edition.
You just made the list!
Number 3, Kevin Owens for a fantastic performance in the men's Fatal 4-Way and his die-hard attempts to get everyone to unite against Braun Strowman. Number 2, Braun Strowman for defying those attempts and winning the Fatal 4-Way and also putting on a spectacular performance. And number 1, Baron Corbin's shiny bald noggin. I love it, it's so bald and shiny, and he's gonna win the WWE Championship someday. And we'll look back at his stringy hair and his giant forehead and think, wow, what has he become now? A winner. That's what he's become. You're a winner, Baron Corbin, and you're the number 1 star. You deserve it. Well, that will do it for us here at Tag Me In Bro. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Tag Me In Bro and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, TuneIn, Google Play, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Stitcher, and probably some other ones also. As always, we're eager to hear your thoughts, comments, questions, answers. Please let us know what you liked, what you hated, and what you could give a bleep about. For my co-host, John Tantillo, I have been Joe Tantillo. Thanks for listening to Tag Me In Bro, and we will see you tomorrow for SmackDown Live and Thursday for our Money in the Bank and NXT TakeOver Chicago predictions. Goodbye, universe.
Goodbye, universe.